So now we'll move on to my presentation on the values-led design for the digital archaeology and heritage. Just a little bit of background about myself. As Viviana already said, I'm currently working as a senior research officer for the Replace project at the University of Essex. I am a digital archaeologist and heritage professional with experience in human-centered design and participatory design. So my main research interests are investigating the benefits and the impact of embedding values-led and participatory practice into our sector, normative methodologies, and everyday workflows. So today, sorry, I'm just gonna show. Select this on screen. Yeah. Okay. Allow. Sorry, I think I'm having. Okay. Sorry, was I? Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We are seeing.
Great. Okay. Okay, so values-led design for digital archaeology and heritage. What is it? Okay, so first of all, what do I mean when I use the term design? So the definition and meanings of design are various and multifaceted, but I use it in the broadest sense, where design refers to the process of envisioning, planning, and developing product, systems, or resources. So the design process basically not only concerns with the what and how, but most importantly, the why of the design. So the reason and purpose for a product or resources to be developed. So rather than just focusing on the end product, the design process starts with identifying a problem or opportunity that needs to be addressed, and then gradually develops into the creation of a final product through a cycle of data information acquisition, evaluation, and decision making. So the design process overall is based on 5 core elements. There are why something is made, who most importantly, who makes it, who uses it, what is it made, and how it is made. But who does design? So I always like to include this quote from Colombian American anthropologist Arturo Escobar that says, every community practices the design of itself, because I truly believe that it perfectly encapsulates the notion that design is no longer the exclusive domain of designer specialists, but design actually structures all aspects of life, and everybody can and actually does design. So based on this premise, my research posits that design is also an integral part of archaeology and heritage practice, because it is through design that we as archaeologists and heritage professionals develop and share our work and engage with our communities and stakeholders. So my research and my work focuses on human-centered design. So what it is. Basically, the design research in the past few decades has increasingly evolved toward a more human-centered and participatory approach that puts people at the heart of the design process. So human-centered design is basically a group of methods that focuses on people needs and aspirations, and it strives to challenge assumptions and develop creating solutions together with the stakeholders and the communities that will be affected by the impact of whatever it is that is being designed. So just a very brief overview of all these design methods. One of the first one was participatory design, which is now often referred to as co-design. It was developed in Scandinavia during the 1970s, and is basically an approach that attempts to actively involve all stakeholders in the creation process. So the core values of participatory design are democracy and empowerment of end users, who are treated as peer co-designers and given a more responsible role in the development of a system or a product that will actually impact their life. So effectively sharing decision-making power. A little bit more recently, basically during the 1990s, value-sensitive design started becoming quite widespread as an approach that explicitly integrates human values and social context within the design process. And also at the same time, inclusive design started being developed, which is basically inclusive design is a process that is committed to include and learn from the full range of human diversity. More recent, and I believe quite fundamental, is the exploration of the concept of design justice by Sasha Costanza-Chook, which basically aims at rethinking the design process by shifting advantages to those who are currently systematically disadvantaged within the matrix of domination of white supremacy, heteropatriarchy, capitalism, ableism, and sector colonialism. So this is a brief overview, and to move toward what I'll be talking about today. So values-led design, and why I'm talking about this in the context of archaeology and heritage practice. Because these kind of critical approaches that have been developed within design studies, they provide tools that we might adopt in undertaking the work of making visible the usually implicit influences and assumptions that structure the practices and outputs associated with archaeology and heritage. So particularly values-led and participatory design, because they shift the focus from products and services to the wider human and environmental impact of design, by explicitly embedding values across the design process and into the design outputs. So just to give you a very brief definition, what I mean here with values-led design practices are practices in the development of form and content which devote a robust, considerable, and persistent attention to human value. And human value here, I use it as to what people care about and strive to obtain. But why do we need values-led design in our digital practice, both in archaeology and heritage sectors? Because if we take a look at all the various mission statements of archaeology and heritage organizations, museums, and university departments, we can see that there is a growing emphasis on the relevance of archaeology and heritage to contemporary society, and highlighting their potential in delivering public benefits. For example, increased community well-being, a sense of place, improvement in the quality of life and the economy, which is also a call that find confirmation, for example, in the Cultural Heritage Counts for Europe report and in the UNESCO report on inclusive development for sustainable cities, which emphasizes the need to generate more active and critical participation of citizens and stakeholders in heritage interpretation through co-design practices and projects. So I believe that for this reason, it is quite crucial for our sector to move forward in its ethical commitment to advance and share knowledge of the past, engage with diverse group of people, and provide opportunity for participation and connection with a shared human past. I always like to include this quote from indigenous archaeologist Sonia Atalais, because she observes that archaeology and heritage institutions need to bring together different ways of knowing if they are to be relevant to the communities they serve. She uses the concept of braiding knowledge, saying that we need to embrace this kind of approach, bringing together different strands of data, ways of knowing, that those that are from different kind of public audiences, from the descendants and local communities, as well as from academic spaces. However, there are several current critiques in heritage studies that highlight how intention of inclusivity and participation are seldom put into practice. So, sorry, just a second. So, for example, critical heritage studies scholar Trinidad Rico states that there is an habit in heritage-related disciplines of making recommendation for including alternative and marginalized voices, but less of an interest in ability to and track record of putting these intentions into practice through dedicated and reflexive methodologies, ones that, sidelines our own privileged expertise. In fact, I do believe that embracing values-led and participatory approaches can address these issues by challenge the Western European concept of heritage as established, that established what Laura Jane Smith defined the authorized heritage discourse. So an hegemonic approach to heritage that relies on the institutionalized authority of heritage specialists and a very top-down relationship between experts, heritage, and also audiences and communities. Finally, I think we need this kind of approaches in digital practice, because we need to shift the focus in technological intervention from innovation to communities empowerment and sustainability. As historian Melvin Kranzberg, first law of technology states, technology is neither good nor bad, nor it is neutral. And there is a growing body of work in our sector that has been pointed out that the adoption of digital technologies, particularly in public participation, is not inherently good nor harmless, because it can replicate extractive and colonial practices if it's not supported by an ethical framework that moves the emphasis from what is technological innovative to what is right and responsible. For example, digital heritage scholar Lorna J. Richardson, discussing ethics and the sustainability of digital practice, argues that understanding that the use of digital technologies is not a neutral position and is not free from harm is an essential part of ethical heritage practice. However, and there is a big however, adopting a values-led approach is very challenging and almost invariably imperfect in execution. If we follow the concept of Jafari Naimi and colleagues of values as hypotheses, values are realized in practice, and so design specification alone cannot account for what actually will manifest when the design itself is deployed in a real-world settings. Moreover, values are very difficult to articulate and actualize in design activities because they are inherently vague and open to multiple, if not conflicting interpretation, and they operate across several professional and personal level. So, how do we deal with this complexity, and how does this kind of values-led design work look like in practice. So today here I want to discuss the adoption of a values-led and participatory design framework to address the challenges of translating these kind of ethical commitments into concrete terms within the Replace project. Replace, which stands for Rebuilding a Sense of Place, is a United Kingdom Research and Innovation Future Leader Fellowships project, which basically aims to bolster community resilience in the aftermath of natural catastrophes by deepening our comprehension of the social cultural significance of 3D technologies in reconstructing a sense of place. Because we believe that through this kind of understanding, then communities can better equip themselves to prepare for, respond to, recover from, and adapt to natural catastrophes, and encompassing all the main phases of what is called the hazard management cycle, that are basically response, recovering, mitigation, adaptation, and preparedness. So our belief at Replace is that by understanding and preserving heritage and a sense of place, we might be able to empower communities to recover more effectively and rebuild their life after facing this kind of adversity. So to conduct in-depth investigation and demonstrate the impact of 2D technologies, the project has selected case studies in Italy, which unfortunately is a country prone to recurrent earthquakes with historical significance to heritage and community resilience. So the selected case studies basically cover the all stages of the hazard management cycle, because we have the response phase in central Italy with the earthquake, the more recent earthquake in 2016, the recovery phase in the city of L'Aquila, central Italy, which was affected by an earthquake in 2009, and the preparedness and mitigation phase in Irpinia, in the Campania region in southern Italy, that just recently actually celebrated the anniversary of the earthquake in 1980. So through all these case studies and in collaboration with technology companies, Replace basically aims to forge a new pathway in disaster management, heritage conservation, and digital practices, one that prioritizes the community needs and sustainable application of 3D technologies, ultimately building community resilience and supporting a more sustainable future. So, because we believe the transformative potential of 3D technologies extend far beyond the restoration of physical buildings, because it lies in their capacity to support communities in profound and meaningful way. But up until now, heritage conservation practices has traditionally emphasized preserving historical structure, but we believe that we must explore and exploit this potential of this kind of technologies, and by using the term 3D technologies, I mean, within the Replace project, we are developing VR experience, mixed reality experience, WebGL platforms, also the use of 3D prints. So because we want to adopt this kind of technological intervention to bolster community resilience and nurture cultural identity in order to facilitate healing and recovering after a disaster. So basically, we want to shift the focus from solely restoring building to empowering communities, because we believe that it is becoming imperative to acknowledge and emphasize the significance of human-centered ethical design values in the application of these kind of technologies. So to follow through this revolution, we adopted a values-led and participatory design framework that was meant to craft values and ethical principles to be integrated into the project digital outputs and practice from the very beginning. So just a brief introduction of what I'm talking about here. This values-led design toolkit that we are using is a card-based approach that was created to customize values-led and participatory methods for the use of archaeology and heritage sectors, and basically to guide and support practitioners that have no background or previous knowledge in the design process to developing a different set of projects and resources. So the toolkit is composed of 5 decks of design cards that are values, vision, concept, design, and challenge. Each one is associated with a specific stage. So basically, the first step is selecting a set of guiding values to consciously reflect on and implementing them in the following design stages that are vision, concept, and design. And then the overall process ends with the challenge cards that are meant to foster critical reflection on each stage of the design process with a series of very provocative questions that are meant to ensure that the developed resources are actually reflecting the chosen values, and also to help people uncover potential unconscious biases and assumptions that have been made, albeit unconsciously, throughout the development and the design process. So in order to do that, at Replace, we adopted each set of cards during a dedicated workshop. So the first workshop was focused on selecting the core values guiding the project, and it was held during the fieldwork campaign in March this year, because the entire team was there to do both ethnographic and tree data collection. It was the first time that the entire team was gathered together, so we felt it was the kind of ideal moment to identify and select what are the values underpinning our work. The second workshop was held online last May, and it was basically focused on discussing our goals and motivation as a team, and also define the overall vision of the project. Then, just a few weeks ago, we had the concept workshop that was held in person, as you can see from the picture, at the University of Essex, where basically we gathered to define the core elements of the project values through the technological intervention, including also a very in-depth discussion of the specific needs, expectations, and desires of our communities and stakeholders. So basically, during these workshops, we gathered a lot of qualitative data. I took personal notes. We have almost 9 hours of video recording that I'm now painstakingly analyzing using a thematic analysis approach. So here today, I'll just show you some of the preliminary results. The most important one, I believe, are the project values that were based on the analysis of our group discussion during the workshop. After that, we started a very long, iterative, reflective process of value drafting, collective discussion that led to the definition of what are these 5 core values for the Replace project. So the first one is equality, diversity, and inclusion that we advocate for following the University of Essex policy. We are also committing in resilience. So we want to support our communities to become more resilient by enabling them to prepare for, respond to, and recover from, and mitigate the effect of natural catastrophes. We also strive for sustainability by both minimizing the project environmental impact and increasing its longevity in terms of reuse and repurpose, and we aim to do that through community-led practices of co-creation and co-ownership. We are also guided by humility and respect, by having due regards for the needs, abilities, and most importantly, vulnerabilities of our communities. And we defer to them because they are the experts of their own embodied lived experience. We also want to champion freedom, mastery, and autonomy by sharing with our communities the knowledge, skills, and means necessary to autonomously engage with and adapt the project's designs. We also want to embrace curiosity and innovation, so we want to challenge assumption and encourage a little bit our communities to try something new and imagine possible alternative futures. The last one, and actually the most complex one that we have replaced, is lightness. So basically, we seek to develop designs that produce feelings of enjoyment and satisfaction in the virtual experience of the place, but we don't want to engender a form of just nostalgic escapism. We want to create means for personal and intergenerational reflection that leads to a new perspective of place. And we also drafted this vision statement after the vision workshop. So basically, we pledged to design 3D technological intervention that focused on communities' needs and sense of place that are led by an ethnographic and participatory, so bottom-up approach. And we do this because currently the application of 3D technologies in the context of natural disaster is way too often led by a top-down approach that does not include the community's perspectives and needs. And so in doing so, we aim to provide means to support our communities through the healing process and ultimately become more resilient. And we will do so by acting responsibly and keeping ourselves accountable for what we design, embedding the replaced values into all our actions and decisions. To just very briefly conclude, I want to highlight that, as I mentioned before, working with values is a very complex and challenging task. The values that I showed you before, we defined, but they operate on various levels because there are the project values, the team members' values, both personal and professional values. They also are the values of the University of Essex and UKRI as a funding body, but yet remain to be seen whether they reflect or align with the values of our communities. So basically, we are planning now the next steps, which will be to bring these values to be discussed with, and most importantly, scrutinized, to be scrutinized by our community through moment of collective discussion and participatory work. And then we'll make amendments or add other values if needed. So basically, we hope that moving forward and embracing these values, not only to make ourselves more accountable for what we design, but also to develop more ethically aware and socially engaged practices to create real values for the communities that we serve and in which our work is embedded.